Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and uncover the fascinating and, honestly, strictly regulated mechanics of how a song actually achieves a #1 ranking in the UK. Because think about it, when you're streaming your favorite playlist on the way to work or just scrolling through Apple Music at the gym, you probably aren't thinking about the intense math dictating whether that song hits #1, right? When you look at the top of the charts, it just feels like pure magic, like a song perfectly captured the cultural zeitgeist and just rode a wave of popularity straight to the top spot. But behind that magic, there's an incredibly complex, heavily regulated system of rules. So we're going to break down exactly what it takes to climb that mountain and look at the incredibly rare anomalies that manage to break literally all the conventional rules. We are kicking things off with a massive mystery box. We're talking about a singular track that somehow defied chart gravity in 1996, again in 1998, and then wildly in 2018. I mean, it is incredibly rare for a song to hit #1 just once, let alone leave the charts entirely and return to the absolute pinnacle decades later. Just think about how much the music industry completely transformed in those 22 years. Back in '96, we were physically lining up at Tower Records to buy CD singles. Then we had the whole iPod revolution, digital downloads on iTunes, and finally, the absolute dominance of modern streaming platforms like Spotify. Entire musical eras came and went. Physical stores literally closed their doors forever, and the very way we listen to music completely changed. So, how on earth did one single track manage to conquer every single one of those totally different eras? Well, to solve this mystery, we've got to pull back the curtain on the ultimate daughter rulemakers, the official charts company. This is the organization that dictates what counts, what doesn't, and exactly how much weight a single stream or a heavy vinyl sale actually carries. Their whole mandate is to ensure the chart is an accurate reflection of genuine popularity and, crucially, to prevent record labels from unfairly manipulating the system. It's actually kind of amusing when you think about it, just how seriously this governing body has to take pop music. Over the years, as our consumption rapidly changed from cassettes to clicks, their rulebook has evolved into this highly complex piece of legislation. Honestly, it reads way more like tax law than a celebration of music. Section 1. The Double A Side Era. A Bygone Chart Nostalgia. Let's take a look back at a time when chart rules were a bit simpler but entirely reliant on tangible plastic and vinyl. Before digital streaming, bands often released physical records or CDs, with two main tracks sharing the spotlight. A really clear contrast to today's data-driven singles. If you bought the record, both songs were credited with the sale. Imagine having to buy an entire movie just to watch one specific 5-minute scene. That's basically what buying a physical single was like. You couldn't just choose to stream track A and ignore track B. They were permanently bound together by the physical format itself. And because of this limitation, you could literally have two completely distinct songs holding the #1 position simultaneously, under the exact same artist. Looking at the historic timeline of double A-side #1s, from the Beatles in 1965 all the way to McFly in 2005, you can really see how dominant this strategy used to be. We see the Beatles kicking off the first official double A-side #1 with Day Tripper and We Can Work It Out. Later on, Queen achieved it with Bohemian Rhapsody paired with These Are the Days of Our Lives. But as we pass McFly in the mid-2000s, this format basically vanishes overnight. Why? Well, it all comes down to technological advances, primarily the unbundling of albums through the 99-cent iTunes era and later individual track streaming. Once listeners could buy or play exactly the single song they wanted, the era of joint billing naturally and permanently died out. Section 2. The Rulebook Deconstructed. Modern chart mechanics. As we transition from physical media into the digital age, you have to ask, how do you even measure a vinyl sale against an ad-funded Spotify stream? Well, the official charts company had to establish an incredibly dense and strict rulebook. It is definitely no longer a free-for-all. You are strictly limited to combining a maximum of 3 physical formats and 3 digital bundles, tightly regulated by unique ISRC tracking codes. You see, it used to be the Wild West out there. In the old days, a record label might release 7 different CD variants with different B-sides, aggressively gaming the system to trick superfans into buying the same song 7 times. Yeah, the official charts company shut that down hard. Furthermore, the golden rule today is genuine transactions only. You absolutely cannot give away a free t-shirt or a concert ticket voucher that heavily outweighs the cost of the single just to buy a chart position. Every single digital stream and download is now ruthlessly tracked. Section 3. The Math of Streaming. Standard versus Accelerated Decline. This is where the sheer volume of data gets absolutely fascinating, and it's exactly how the chart actively tries to keep itself fresh. Normally, under what's called the standard chart ratio, 100 streams from a paid premium subscription or 600 streams from a free ad-supported tier equal one single sale. Just take a second to digest that math. Now look at the other side, the accelerated chart ratio. If a song has been on the chart for at least 9 weeks and sees 3 consecutive weeks of declining streams, its value is slashed in half as a punishment. Suddenly, it takes double the effort to maintain its chart position. And why should you care about this? Because this right here is the secret algorithm keeping your favorite radio stations and streaming playlists from playing the exact same older hits for 3 years straight. Just think about the sheer weight of that math for a second. It takes a staggering 1,200 free ad-funded streams just to equal the value of one single physical purchase under those accelerated rules. Imagine putting a song on a continuous loop on your free Spotify account. You would literally have to listen to it 1,200 times just to equal one single person walking into a record store and buying a CD. That is a massive hurdle. It means that once a song starts naturally fading in popularity, the chart rules actively pull it down faster, paving the way for brand new music. To reverse this penalty, a song's streams need to violently surge by 25% above the market average just to automatically reset back to the standard ratio, which honestly sounds nearly impossible to achieve organically, right? Section 4. The Phenomenon. 3 Lions. And that brings us to the song that looked at these incredibly strict rules, the rigid format limits, and the brutal streaming math, and completely defied them all. Originally penned for Euro '96, 3 Lions managed to master the charts across the physical, digital, and streaming eras. Written by the Lightning Seeds' Ian Browdy alongside comedians David Baddiel and Frank Skinner, this wasn't just another manufactured pop song. It was the official anthem for England hosting the European Championship. Now, for international audiences who might not know, Euro '96 carried massive cultural weight. Football was coming home to its birthplace, and the entire nation was gripped by a collective fever. Riding that intense emotional wave, the track stormed straight to #1 in a purely physical market. Tracking its incredible timeline, we see it conquering the charts in '96, again with updated lyrics in '98, and returning to the very top 22 years later during the 2018 World Cup. Guys, this is completely unprecedented. When England played in the 1998 World Cup, they released a reworked version updating the lyrics to reference the current squad. And boom, #1 again. But the real magic? That happened in 2018. Without a single new physical release to boost sales, the original 1996 track rode an absolute tidal wave of digital streams all the way back to the summit. It became the first song in UK chart history to have 4 separate stints at #1. And here is the truly staggering part. It did it with the exact same artist lineup. In an industry where artists can fade from relevance in a matter of months, returning to the summit 22 years later is practically a miracle. So how exactly did it bypass those modern rules? It defied standard chart gravity because fans organically surged its streams during major tournaments, literally breaking the algorithm through sheer willpower and national pride. Remember that massive 1,200 stream penalty we just talked about, the accelerated chart ratio? Well, whenever England goes deep into a tournament, the sheer volume of organic streaming for 3 Lions spikes so violently that it triggers the official chart's automatic reset. That violent 25% surge we mentioned earlier, it actually happens. It bursts out of its accelerated chart ratio penalty box and is instantly restored to its standard value. Fans aren't buying CDs anymore. They are just playing the song so relentlessly on their phones that the algorithm literally has no choice but to rocket it back up the charts. 30 years of hurt never stopped me dreaming. The crucial point here is that this unprecedented success wasn't just clever data manipulation. It succeeded over decades because these specific lyrics tapped into a completely unique emotional resonance of hope despite past failures. The creators intentionally avoided the usual arrogant, "we are the champions" trope that so many sports anthems rely on. Instead, Ian Browdy wanted a song about being a genuine football fan, which, as he noted, mostly involves the shared experience of losing. I want you to contrast all the cold, hard math and barcodes we discussed earlier with that profound human emotion, that vulnerability, combined with a catchy stadium-ready melody, created a piece of pop culture proving that a great song can beat an algorithm every single time. It completely transcends physical media limitations, barcode restrictions, and streaming ratios. Now that we know exactly what it takes to navigate these incredibly complex chart rules, it leaves us with one fascinating challenge. With the streaming rules getting stricter every single year just to fight off bots, algorithms, and artificial distortion, Will a modern artist ever be able to manufacture a moment quite like this again? Or is the era of the four-time #1 gone forever? Achieving the absolute top spot is becoming an increasingly pure but phenomenally difficult feat. It's an incredibly high bar to clear, but if history tells us anything, music always finds a way to surprise us. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep an eye on those charts.